So the Six Nations is back again, and thankfully there's no more bye weeks. We've had one for the past 2 rounds now, and I think we can all say we need the Six Nations back. We've got 2 rounds left, round 4 and then round 5 for Super Saturday. So in terms of fantasy, this is pretty important. Kicking it off, we've obviously got Italy versus Scotland. I'm hoping it will be sunny in Italy so that, well, they can throw the ball around and play as we know they can. Hoping that's going to be a pretty decent game. Then moving on to England-Ireland. Maybe not as open in that game you expect. I think Ireland definitely favourites, but England probably going to give them a decent game. And then finally on Sunday is Wales-France. Again, another pretty close game, I think. Maybe Wales are going into that favourites, or maybe that's just because I live in Wales, so that's all I hear. But I'm pretty sure Wales can put up a pretty good fight and hopefully get their first win. As always, if you're new here, then please subscribe to the channel. There's going to be fantasy content all throughout the year, and hoping even to do Premiership fantasy as well, which I have been doing, but obviously not posting videos. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see that. So, by now, you know me, let's get straight into it. In the front row, I've gone with Showman, Sheehan, and Fischetti. Pretty sure I picked these 3 last round as well. In each of their positions, they're the top in terms of average points scored throughout the past 3 rounds, so I think we're in pretty good stead. But starting off with Showman, he's obviously got Italy away. We know that he's one of Scotland's main ball carriers, so he's going to continue that. And I'm hoping Scotland dominate possession a little bit more so that he can get on the ball and, yeah, do most of his work. Obviously, that Italy defence isn't the best. Probably, maybe not the worst in the Six Nations at the moment, but we know that if Scotland have the ball and play like they can, then they're going to run riot, and hopefully Showman can be one of their top ball carriers again. Then at hooker, I think it's pretty safe to say Dan Sheehan's probably the best option out there. So looking at his stats from the past 3 rounds, meters made is at over 153, but obviously in my last video, we know that that's not much to go by. 4 tries, however, in 3 games is pretty nuts, and also an assist. Bear in mind he's a hooker, so this is pretty crazy stats. Points as well, 28 in the first round, 37, and then 21 in the third. I think he's probably due a decent game as well. Got taken off pretty early in the last round. I think with England, it's obviously going to be a forward-dominated game, so they're going to want to rotate, but I think Ireland is definitely going to want to get the most out of Dan Sheehan, especially with his dynamism. And then finally in the front row, we've gone for Fischetti. So again, pretty decent average points. So nothing special, he's a prop, right? But 15 points in the first round, 18 and then 14. Again, one of Italy's main ball carriers, and also his tackles. Again, last video, defensive stats get you quite good points this tournament. He's made 33 tackles, and for a prop, that is pretty decent. What's that? 11 tackles on average per game. Against Scotland, hoping Italy do have some of the ball, but Scotland do like to obviously have the ball, play expansive, so I'm hoping that he can make some pretty decent tackles again, and also maybe get some breakdown steals. Into the second row, and I've definitely made room for Tadhg Beirne in my team this week. And I've also gone with Rutzer for Italy. So Tadhg Beirne, he has the highest average points per game of any player in Six Nations Fantasy. Obviously he missed out on round 2, but respectively scored 44 points in the first game and then 41 points in round 3. Albeit he scored a try in both of them, but that's a pretty decent return for a second row, so he has to be in your team, I definitely think. Breakdown steals as well 2, so that's 1 per game as well, and line out steals 2 as well in 2 games. So he's racking up so much points even without tries that I just think he's definitely a go-to. At the moment, you'd say he's probably best captain pick in terms of his average points. No player beats him. So I think he's definitely one to look out for. Only downside is he does concede penalties and has also obviously gotten a yellow card in the last game as well, but still managed to score 41 points. Probably on the other end of the scale is Federico Ruzza. So hasn't set the world alight, but similar to Tyke Byrne, had some pretty decent rounds. So first round scored 19 points, and then again in the third round 19 points. If he does that again this week, I'd definitely be happy. I think 20 points per player is definitely something to aim for. If you get any lower than that, that's probably a bad performance, but 20 seems to be a pretty decent score. Again, he's Italy's main line-out option, so especially for stealing line-out ball as well, which Scotland have been somewhat shaky on, I think he could definitely do a job. Made 2 line-out steals in the past 3 rounds, and we know from the last video, gets pretty decent points as well. Then in the back row, pretty mainstay trio here. So again, I've gone for Ben Earl. Tommy Rafal is in as well, and I've also gone Aaron Wainwright. Starting with Ben Earl, he is also up there, especially with Tyke Byrne, in terms of highest average points. He is just England's go-to at the moment, a player. So I think if he's firing, then England will be firing as well. Has scored 24, 46 and then 31 points in the past 3 rounds respectively. Meters carried is almost over 200, but tackles is 32. So he's making 10 tackles a game. And especially against Ireland, he's going to have to up that because Ireland are going to want to dominate. If England are to have the ball and put something together, then Earl is going to be at the forefront of that as well. I think Earl is definitely a safe option. I don't 100% like the fixture, obviously Ireland, but they are at home, so I am backing it. Again, similar, Tommy Rafal has been pretty much a revelation for Wales, but also in fantasy as well. 34 points again, and then 25 in round 3 is a really decent return. 46 tackles in the past 3 games, and again, Wales at home versus France. I think they're going to have to do some defending, especially with the Wales outfit at the moment. But for me, he also has beaten 5 defenders, and we don't really categorise that with Rafal at the moment. He's a defence machine, and like I said in the last video, defensive points are key in this one. So I think defensive back rows are definitely going to be useful here. And then finally, I have gone with Wainwright. Maybe a bit of a out there pick. Obviously in the first round scored 56 points, but outside of that, hasn't performed too well. Reason for picking him: 1, he fits in budget, but 2, I do back Wales at home versus France. France's defence has been really shaky, and Wales at home is a formidable fixture for anyone. Maybe not Ireland at the moment, but I do back a Wales win this weekend. Again, he's made 30 tackles, 10 a game on average, but with Wainwright, he does get those attacking returns a little bit more, and is Wales' main ball carrier. He also stays on for the whole match, and also man of the match in the first round as well. So that is an extra 15 points, which could be out there. If Wales do perform, and they do get their attack going, Wainwright is going to have to get on the ball, make dominant carries. So he's definitely up there if Wales win for man of the match. I'm calling it. Then into the halfbacks. Very randomly, probably, I've gone with Paige Rello, who did start last time out for Italy. And then, of course, I've gone with the main man, my captain, Finn Russell. So Paige Rello is probably quite an unfamiliar name to many of us. Italy have had a fair few 9s over, the past few years, but in this tournament especially. Paige Rello has started the last game, so hoping he starts this game as well. 9s are actually the lowest average scoring position on the pitch, so I'm not overly hopeful that he's going to absolutely set the world alight. He is 7.2 stars, which probably the main reason why I've picked him to get budget elsewhere. But he also does play for Toulouse, so I'm hoping Toulouse wouldn't buy a bad player, and especially Italy at home versus Scotland, going to be an open game. So if he is going to get attacking returns, this will be the game. Then on to Finn Russell. Well, again, not much to say here. He's performed pretty decently over the past 3 rounds. 47 points, 24 and 23, quite average, I'd say, in the past 2 games. But it is Italy, which is probably along with Wales at the moment, the weakest fixture that they can get. And against Wales, score 47 points. I'm hoping they do the same again. I think Finn Russell is a pretty, safe captain pick. I think he's definitely going to get above 20 points, especially with the amount of points that are going to be scored in that game. He's going to have kicking points, but also hoping for some assists and maybe even a try as well. As explained in the previous video, fly halves, for me, are pretty solid captain choices for kicking responsibilities, but also assists. So hoping this one pays off. Then into the centres, I have gone with Bundyaki and Mofana. So Bundyaki obviously up against England. I think that's a pretty decent fixture. It's going to be quite tight in terms of forward pack, but then especially in the first half, I think it's just going to be quite a close game, just because each team likes to defend and squeeze the opposition. So I think Bundyaki off first phase is just going to get some good meters, especially if George Ford is playing. He's going to make and break tackles like no tomorrow. So I think he's a pretty safe pick, and from previous rounds scored pretty highly as well. So I think Bundyaki is a go-to in terms of centre options. Mofana is probably a little bit similar. So again, pretty good fixture against Wales, but there's no Jonathan Donty, so you would expect Mofana to move into 12. He has been on the wing, so hasn't got much of the ball when he's come off the bench, but at 12 I think he will get more of the ball, and if Wales are to attack, which I'm hoping they will, Mofana will be a key line of defence, especially for Jalibert and Fiku outside him. So I think that's going to be pretty solid, and because he's been on the bench a few times, going to want to prove what he can do. I think it's a pretty decent option, and budget-wise, he's quite cheap as well. So I think it's definitely a useful pick this week. And then finally, we've got the back 3. So I have overloaded on Italy and Scotland players here, just because I think that game is the best suited for back 3 players. Hoping it's going to be open, hoping it's going to be sunny. So I've picked the main man, Van der Merwe. I've gone with Monty Ioane because when he gets the ball, he's electric. And I've also gone with Blair Kinghorn, hoping he's fit and plays 15, because I am expecting a lot of space in that backfield. Van der Merwe was my other captain option. I think a lot of people are probably going to captain him this week, especially after scoring 3 tries against England. Do I think he can back it up? Well, of course, definitely he can back it up, and he's also so close to breaking Stuart Hogg's all-time Scotland try-scoring record. So I think he is probably the most nailed-on captain for this week. Great fixture, and obviously it's Duhan van der Merwe. But sometimes, especially in round 2, he does go missing. He only scored 4 points in round 2. So is it a gamble, the way the points have been played out? I'm not sure. Let me know your thoughts and whether you're captaining Duhan van der Merwe this week. I think a really decent option, which many of us aren't talking about, is actually Monty Ioane. So in the first game, scored 38 points. Outside of that, just above 15 per round. But meters carried, he's almost made 300 meters. I think Italy versus Scotland just sounds attacking to me, especially with the 2 sides at the moment. So I'm really hoping that it is just an open game. Monty Ioane, every time he gets the ball, he does just run. So you are going to rack up good meters. Unfortunately, for this game, at the moment, they don't get you too many points. But, like Van der Merwe, he is a menace and can really cause some danger in defences, which I'm hoping he can do against Scotland. But again, risk is he's just quiet and doesn't get many points. But I'm backing him this week. And then finally, I've gone with Blair Kinghorn. So, over the past 3 rounds, hasn't actually played too much. I'm hoping he's fit this round because we all know what he can do. Just signed for Toulouse and absolutely smashing it in the top 14 at the moment. I think with a back 3 of Kinghorn, Van der Merwe and Graham, if they're all fit, that's one of the most dangerous back 3s in World Rugby. And I support England and live in Wales, so that's definitely a statement. If Blair Kinghorn is to start and the game does go as expected, these back 3 players are just going to rack up a lot of attacking points, but I'm hoping the way that Scotland play also gets a try or an assist or two. So I think Scotland definitely target back 3 players just because of the way they play. Blair Kinghorn, if he's fit, is the one to go for. And then finally, for my super sub, I have gone off the back of last week and I have gone with Ronan Kelleher. Obviously scored a try, got 23 points, but looking at his average points, it's actually somewhat similar to some of the starting players. So 17 points in round 1, and then round 3, 23 points. And that's just off the bench. So that's going to be tripled. I think, like I said, that England-Ireland game is going to be quite a forward-dominated and like a squeeze fest. So even though they're going to want to get the most out of Sheehan, Kelleher is going to be important, especially up against George, who probably isn't going to go off just because he's the captain and really important to England. So I think fresh legs for Kelleher is going to be super good, and from experience in the past few rounds has been a good super sub option too. So that is my team at the moment for round 4. Let me know what you think. My main areas of concern maybe is the captain pick. So Russell, obviously in the last video I've explained about fly halves and how I think they're a solid captain option just because of their kicking points, but also Russell against Italy just sounds pretty decent. But am I missing a trick with like Van der Merwe or Blair Kinghorn, because they could rack up some serious points, especially if they're going to score tries? Let me know your teams down below and what you think of my team as well. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting round. Again, I'm sceptical for this round just because it looks on paper like I could score 400 plus points, but then again, we could have so many blanks and then I get like 200 points or something like that. So I am sceptical, but as always, need your guys' help down in the comments as well. If you did like the video as well, subscribe to the channel. Almost building 4,000 subscribers. Would be great if we could get close to that at the end of the Six Nations. So thanks everyone for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.